The Electrical Trades Union asked a research firm to go out and find out what do workers think about the best and worst things of the Labor Party. And yesterday, Joe Hildebrand at news.com.au was able to have a look at some of their findings. It was not pleasant reading if you are a Labor person, but among other things, basically, if you were going to go vote Hanson. Why? Because we might agree with you on all the workplace stuff, but we don't agree with you on all the woke stuff. At least that's what we were able to read in part of this here. We're working class Australians, the very foundation of the Labor Party, are abandoning the ALP in droves because they think the party is being overrun by woke ideals and white-collar university-educated yuppies. Simon Welsh is the Director of Research and Policy at the Redbridge Group. They were the ones who did the research for the Electrical Trades Union, and they join us now. Simon, thank you very much. Did Joe put his spin on it, or that was what you were able to find?
G'day, Paul. Look, it is a little bit of cherry picking, I would say, there in the report from Joe. But fundamentally, what we're seeing across working communities across Australia is a drift away from the major parties generally. And in certain communities, in certain part of the country, there is a special edge to that for the Labor Party. Where communities would say Labor is the party that should be standing with us, we find an edge to that anger. In the same way, in other parts of the country, we find an edge for, say, the National Party, in terms of that's the party that should have been looking after us. In Upper Hunter, that'll be interesting to see over the next couple of weeks. But fundamentally, what's driving it are underlying economic concerns and longer-term sort of economic trends that are sort of gutting these communities and have been for generations, certainly years and decades. So the woke stuff that article particularly singled out is there for some, but it's not there for all. That research that was quoted was private research, so I'm sort of not at liberty to go into the depths of it. But what I would like to say, I feel sort of owed to the respondents in that particular research was that it wasn't sort of an absolute rejection of those sort of social progressive ideas. What those respondents are saying is, yeah, we agree with some of that, but what we'd like to see these major parties, and particularly our party, we'd like to see them sort of, the old walk and chew gum a little bit better than they do.
Well, see, I've been, as long as I've been on the air, been acutely attuned to people who are leaving Team Red, Team Blue. Now, basically, I started to notice this in 2014, 2015, but basically 10% of the electorate that has been there for a long time has really hardened, as I'm not a Green, I'm not Liberal, I'm not Labor. Now, in 2016, when Conservatives believed that the government wasn't conservative enough, they, of course, moved off, and because the government had a buffer, that's how they ended up with just that one-seat majority. In 2019, when there was a rejection of what Bill Shorten was selling, the people who were in that 10% still went off to Clive Palmer, still went off to Pauline Hanson, but preference discipline meant that they didn't go back to their traditional voting patterns. That's what's going to be really fascinating about how Albanese will present himself at the next election. Does he present himself as Chloe Shorten's husband, which was in part the Bill Shorten scenario? Does he present himself as, the Souths fan and the working twang? But of course, he has to win his own seat in oh-so-woke Marrickville. The challenges are just as profound on the Conservative side about bleeding votes, but making sure you have preference discipline that comes back. But the unique challenge, is it fair for me to say, the unique challenge for Labor is that, okay, if you're woke and you don't think they're woke enough, you go to the Greens, you come back to Labor. But if you think they're too woke, you go to One Nation and you might end up at the Liberal Party.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Paul. Absolutely right. That Labor has this sort of unique wedge, if you will, that between the city and these sort of outer suburbs, regional Australia, where these working communities are residing. The participants we speak to, not just in this ETU research, but across all the groups that we're doing, are very clear in what they want to see from the Labor Party, and this is addressing issues like privatisation, addressing the effects of globalisation that they've seen on their communities, where the local factory was sold out to global interests and then shut down, and those jobs gone. Addressing the sort of the decades-long neglect and the investment in these communities. Like they're pretty clear about these things, and I think the platform that Albanese's been talking about recently about rebuilding manufacturing and these sorts of things will very much speak to these communities. But I think the big challenge for them there, as you say, is balancing the social progressive agenda, but making sure that core Labor agenda about rebuilding a self-sufficient Australia actually cuts through. And that seems to be the issue. The other issue we're striking here at the moment is, Albanese and the Labor platform seems to align very much with what these people want. It's getting it through. It's getting that message out.
All right. Good on you, Simon. You're a smart bloke. Interesting findings that we read about, and no doubt because of that confidentiality, would be even more fascinating for you to know than us to know of the top lines of it. Appreciate it, Simon. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
Good on you, mate.